Hi everybody, I'm Mike, this is Budget Guns and Gear Reviews, and today we're going to take a look at the PPS 43c. Stick around, maybe we'll learn something together. The PPS 43c is a redesign of the PPS 43 Soviet World War II era submachine gun. This submachine gun was a development of the PPS 41. A lot of people want to call this a PPSH, but it's not. It's a PPS. In Soviet naming conventions, the PP was Pistolet Pulemyot, which is basically transfers to machine pistol or submachine gun. The SH for the PPSH 41 would be the initials, the first two letters of the last name of the designer, who was Shpagin, and the 41 it was issued in 1941. With the PPS 43, it's Pistolet Pulemyot Sudaev, who is a different designer from Shpagin, and it was issued in 1943. This particular example is a PPS 43c Polish variant of the PPS 43. This was made in Poland by Radom and imported by Pioneer Arms. It is a pistol because due to our wonderful NFA regulations, you can't have the shoulder thingy that goes up, aka the folding shoulder stock, be active, be operable in order to import it. And well, unless you want to pay $200 tax stamp and beg for government permission, you can't render this operable. This particular example is chambered in 7.62 by 2.5, although you can get them in 9mm. The PPS 43 uses a 35 round stick magazine. It is a double stack, double feed magazine. It will not use the PPSH 41 magazines, particularly the drum. The Soviets found that the drum was not very reliable, and so they used this stick magazine with the newer version of the submachine gun. A lot of people think that this is the best submachine gun design of World War II because of its simplicity, its ease of manufacture, its ease of use, and it doesn't have the extremely high fire rate that the PPSH did. This one was very controllable in its open bolt submachine gun format. This has been converted from an open bolt submachine gun to a closed bolt semi-automatic version. I'm going to go ahead and fire from a rest because I don't have the stock. Although here after a bit I will use the sling to try to brace. But right now I want to just try to sight it in a little bit and see where it's hitting. And a misfeed. Okay, they're shooting way high. Let me adjust this. This thing is shooting way high, so the end of the cleaning rod has a recess in it so that you can adjust your sights like you would with an AK or an SKS. Another misfeed. See how that did. Alright, let's see if I can do anything at 10 yards against this string of targets. I'm not going to try to push it out much further than this for this video because, you know, no shoulder thingy that goes up, right? I'm going to try 2 rounds in each of the silhouettes and then knock down those new bolt targets and put the rest on the steel plate. Or at least that's my theory. Misfeed! That was 4 misfeeds with that magazine. Two of them it pushed the bullet back, two of them pushed the bullet back, two of them pushed the bullet back and tore the casing up. So I'm going to try a different magazine and see how that works. There I have one. Chewed up the casing and set the bullet back. What a shame too, because otherwise I'm really liking how this thing shoots. Let's take a look at what makes the semi-auto variant different from the full auto version. In order to see what's different, the first thing we need to do is take this thing apart. In order to field strip this, there is a button here on the back of the receiver. You press that button in and hinge the weapon open, like an AR. However, unlike an AR, this is captive. This front hinge pin does not come out, so you cannot separate the two halves. In order to remove the bolt, simply draw it back, lift it out, and take out the recoil spring and bolt. The recoil spring also serves as the ejector rod. It goes into this recess in the bolt, and this tab goes into the hole in the bolt. When the bolt goes back rearward, that plunger comes forward. Well, it goes rearward and exposes that plunger, which, if you'll notice, is right on the cutout on the bolt face, and that will eject the spent cartridge. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is the differences in the bolt. This is a full auto submachine gun bolt that I got with a parts kit, because you can order parts kits for these that have the bolts and some magazines and the springs and lower receiver and whatnot. This is the semi-auto bolt. The first thing you're going to notice is that in the semi-auto bolt there's a channel carved into the top that does not exist on the full auto bolt. That is because on the receiver of the semi-automatic version, they have a recess that goes along the top that protrudes into the receiver, and it keeps a full auto bolt from even being inserted. The next difference between the semi-auto bolt here on my actually this is the full auto bolt in my left hand, the semi-auto bolt in my right hand, the semi-auto bolt has a firing pin that protrudes all the way through. The full auto bolt does not. That is merely to center, that little hole there is merely to center this when they turned it on the lathe. It has a fixed firing pin. The next major difference is that you'll notice on the semi-auto bolt, this area is flat, whereas on the full auto bolt, there's this protrusion there. They milled that out because this is where the sear engages the full auto bolt and holds it back from the open position before it fires. When it fires, the sear drops and allows the bolt to go forward. Moving to the lower receiver, the semi-auto version has a hammer assembly, much like an AK or an AR. So they had to do that whenever they converted it from the full auto to the semi-auto. The full auto receiver is a lot simpler. All it has is this sear that rises up. You press the trigger, it drops the sear. Again, the function of this piece is to catch on the full auto bolt in the open position, and when you, I don't know how well you can see that, when you pull the trigger, that sear drops, disengages the bolt, and the bolt can slam forward, strip around, and fire it. The next difference is in the stock mechanism. On the semi-auto version, the new receiver is not cut out so that the button can go down and the stock can move. The stock is fixed in place and it has to be converted in order to operate. On the full auto, here you can also see that the receiver on the full auto, because this is what's left of the upper receiver in the parts kit that I got. The receiver here does not have that groove in it for the semi-auto bolt. But in order to deploy the stock on full auto version, you simply pull it up, snap it in place, and rotate your buttstock. In order to stow the stock, you press the button and collapse it and rotate the buttstock in. It looks a little something like this. But on the full auto version, it works like that. Semi-auto, yeah, no. Because our laws require that fun stuff like this gets neutered before us peons can have it. I think that can of peaches down there needs disposed of properly. Let's see if I can do it with this. Let's try another run at those targets. Another freaking misfeed. In an ode to military arms channel, let's see if I can 80s hip fire it. Not without jamming it, apparently. This is disappointing. Extremely disappointing. I'm Mike. This is Budget Guns and Gear Reviews. That was my look at the PPS 43c. If you like what you saw, please like, share, subscribe. Consider becoming a patron on my Patreon account. Every little bit helps. And as always, come on back. Maybe we'll learn something together.